Today, we are jumping right in. I'm Lindsay, I'm a financial therapist. I help couples get on the same page using money psychology. Let's get into the 3 keys you need in order to make your romantic relationship successful when it comes to money. So before we get started, be sure to grab a paper and pen or paper and pencil because today's video is going to be a little bit more interactive. I'm going to be going through some different criteria of financially healthy couples, and what I want you to do is give yourself a score, and what we're going to do is then use that score at the end of this video and at the end of the series of this videos. Today is video 1 of 3, and I'll break down each 3 keys of a successful financial relationship. The 3 keys to becoming successful in your relationship with money and in your romantic relationship are to assess, alleviate, and amplify your relationship. Today we're going to focus on key number 1, which is assess. So I'm going to go through 3 different principles under this assessment umbrella, and what I'm going to have you do is give yourself a score. The scale is going to be on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 means you are not doing the things that a healthy couple does, and 10 means you are knocking it out of the park. And at the end of the video, you're going to have a score, and based upon that score, I'll give you some specific action steps so you can start moving towards becoming a financially healthy powerhouse couple. All right, so the first principle in assessment is learning your money story. I've talked about this a lot on this channel, but your money story is anything that you have internalized that impact your beliefs about money. So these are the things that show up as thoughts that sound like it's not possible to be rich and to be a good person, or in order to be a good person, you shouldn't care about money. Those are the types of things that show up in a money story. In principle 1, what I want you to be doing if you are a financially healthy couple is that you know your money story inside and out. You know some of your first money memories, you remember your first job and what it felt like to get that first paycheck, you remember anything financially related that really kind of is time-stamped in your mind and impacts your financial story, your money story. So give yourself a 1 if you don't know what your money story is, you don't have the language you need in order to describe your money story to somebody. So that's going to be a 1. And give yourself a 10 if you know inside and out your money story, where your money beliefs came from, and you are able to articulate it to your partner. So take a second and give yourself a score on that scale from 1 to 10. Principle number 2 in assess is to practice compassion. The problem that I see with couples who aren't practicing compassion is that they speak to their partner in a blameful or shameful way. When you are practicing compassion financially in your relationship, you are saying things like, oh, I can imagine how that must have felt growing up and hearing that messaging, or, oh, I see that your behavior, even though it doesn't line up with what you want to be doing with your money, I can see why you would be doing it based upon your money story. And this can go both ways. So this can go towards projecting things onto your partner, but it also can be that you are being compassionate or not being compassionate towards yourself. So if you're beating yourself up for not being good with your money, you're not being very compassionate towards yourself. If after you make a money mistake or a money hiccup, you tell yourself, hey, I'm human, I've learned from that, and I will practice XYZ moving forward, then you are practicing being compassionate. That's principle number 2, is practicing compassion. So I want you to give yourself a 1 if you're not practicing compassion towards yourself with your money story or with your money behaviors, or you're not practicing compassion towards your partner. And I want you to give yourself a 10 if you're being really compassionate and kind towards yourself and towards your partner for your money stories and money behavior. So take a second and kind of think about where you land on that scale of being compassionate or not being so compassionate. Jot that number down, and then we'll hop on to number 3. The third principle under the assessment umbrella is practicing sitting with discomfort. This is really hard to do for most people, but particularly in North America, where we are fed a message that you have to be happy and excited and joyful all the time, or something is wrong with you. First of all, that's just not true. We are humans, we have a range of emotions, but it sets us up to feel really uncomfortable with any emotion that falls below a neutral baseline. So let me see if I can explain that a little bit better. So let's say this is is you just like normal day, not feeling great, but not feeling miserable. You're just feeling really neutral. Our society is all about you being above that baseline. So our society rewards you for being happy, for being excited, for being energetic. And those are things that most of us can sit with. The emotions that fall below that, sadness, discomfort, shame, anything like that, feels really uncomfortable and we try to avoid it. So in this principle, sitting with that discomfort, sitting with anything below that neutral baseline of your emotions is really important because it helps to show you that you can tolerate uncomfortable things, you can tolerate hard things, and it helps to build resiliency. So when you're ranking this part, what I want you to think about is give yourself a 1 if you're not doing this for yourself or for your partner. So what that might look like is immediately trying to change your mood, change your mindset, avoid uncomfortable situations once you get close to that. So that's going to be a 1, is that you can't tolerate being uncomfortable at all. Or if your partner is complaining or stressed out about something, instead of sitting with them and going, oh yeah, that must be hard, immediately saying something like, well, let's look at the bright side of things, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be a 1. Okay, so your inability to sit with being uncomfortable is a 1, and on the opposite side of things is a 10. And that means kind of like practicing that compassion. It means saying things like, okay, this is hard, this is painful, this sucks, and I'm okay. Let me explore why I might be feeling this way. So take a second and kind of rank yourself on that scale from 1 to 10, 1 being you're not very good at staying uncomfortable, and 10 being you're pretty kind and compassionate towards yourself or towards your partner when you're uncomfortable. So now that you've got those 3 numbers, I want you to tally them up. How'd you do? So the higher the score, the more likely it is that you're in a really good position to be in a financially healthy relationship with your partner. The lower the score, the more likely it is that you might need a little bit of help, and that's okay. If you scored anything below a 24, I've got you covered. I have my free handout on how to start the money talk with your partner, and I give you 5 different ways to kind of start inching towards having that conversation with your partner. So it's in the description box. Be sure to grab your copy if you scored below a 24. And if you scored above a 24, give yourself a pat on the back, because this is hard work in order to be in that space of assessing your relationship so that you can be financially healthy in your romantic relationship. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to click on that subscribe button so when videos number 2 and 3 come out, you'll be alerted to it, because at the end of video 3, we're gonna put everything together and see what is a really good next step for you in your romantic relationship. So I'll see you in video 2.